It's Car Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Car Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
And welcome to Car Con Carne. I'm James Van Alstyne, still being held in captivity. Car Con Carne, if you want to be in on our email list, if you want to find out what's happening on Car Con Carne, you should sign up for the Car Con Carne email newsletter. You can do so very easily on the homepage of carconcarne.com. There is a link in the navigation. There's also a story you can click on. And if you do so before New Year's Day, you will be in the running for a $50 gift card to Byron's Hot Dogs with two lovely locations. That's what I'm saying. I love Byron's. And I mentioned this before. It's worth mentioning again. They have Green River on the fountain. Byron's Hot Dogs on Lawrence, also on Irving Park Road. And while I'm on the topic of food, it is a blessed event. It is always one of my favorite shows of the year when Mike Gebert of Fooditor joins me. Author, writer, year after year, he has cranked out the Fooditor 99. This year being the year that it is the Fooditor 33, Chicago's best new places to eat. If that isn't a sign of 2020, I don't know what is. Before we dig into the stuff I want to talk about with you, you should provide a disclaimer for what's going on with you.
Okay, so I think I have mono, and the result of that is that my tongue is swollen up, and that's why I sound like I'm drunk here. I am not drunk. I'm not drunk podcasting, I assure you.
Although you would not be the first guest to be drunk on the show. If you went that route.
I suspect not.
It'd be perfectly fine with me. I'd be okay with it. There are no rules during the pandemic.
I'm just sipping.
That could be straight bourbon. It wouldn't bother me.
Yeah, I'm just sipping tea from my Fooditor mug here. So
and I want people who are watching or listening to know, I did say to Mike, if you want to wait and do this another time, it's okay with me. I understand. But Mike, being a professional journalist that he is and dedicated as he is, he said, no, we're doing it live. And here we are.
Here we are.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Mom. I'm not drunk.
I'll try not to throw any challenging polysyllabic words your way so that we can muscle through this. So Fooditor is a website. Like I said, every year we get the Fooditor 99. This year's the Fooditor 33. It is all about dining, the politics around the dining scene, the tastes of the dining scene. Knowing that this has been such a nightmare year for everyone, but for the service industry with closings, jobs lost, the emotional toll, can you tell us some good news about the Chicago dining scene that we can take with us?
I think there's been a lot of creativity this year on the dining scene from people who found their regular gig wasn't going to make it in this situation. So they found ways to innovate around that. Good example, Noah Sandoval, who has Oreo, which is one of my favorite high-end restaurants, one of everybody's favorite high-end restaurants. And, they couldn't do what they're doing. They've been closed since March. So he got into the Detroit-style pizza thing, which has been big this year. And
I was going to mention that. Sorry to interrupt, Mike, but Detroit pizza comes up a couple times in the Fooditor 33.
Yes.
So it feels like a trend.
It is a trend, absolutely. And it's what's funny with Noah and Pizza Friendly Pizza, his place is that it opened in Bite Cafe, which you probably know Bruce Finkelman, who has that and the empty bottle and things like that. Yeah. So when I went to pick up my pizza, Bruce was back there and he said to me, the back of the empty bottle, probably the place in America where the most bands have broken up over the years.
I love the empty bottle. I don't know if Bruce likes me, but I like him.
Yeah. He's actually on here twice because Promontory in Hyde Park has El Oso Cafe in it right now. Another place.
It's like a swanky Mexican place, right?
Yeah, it's a spinoff of one of my longtime favorites. Let's say I think it was number 3 in last year's book, Barriera Zaragoza. So Jonathan Zaragoza from that family is doing like interesting upscale Mexican kind of stuff in there. So no, it's not number 3. It was 1 year anyway.
So innovation. I mean, that's a theme I keep
Innovation,
coming back to.
and I think that's the great thing. I mean, whenever this ends and we see who we really lost forever, we're going to see what has grown out of that. I mean, Blackbird closed, and the guy, the head chef from Blackbird, most recently, Ryan Pfeiffer, opened this thing called Big Kids in Logan Square, which has, these totally over the top, very indulgent sandwiches.
Like a collard green sandwich.
There's a collard green. That one's actually really nice. Collard greens, grilled cheese kind of sandwich. Another one I really like, as someone who ate a lot of bologna sandwiches going to elementary school, they have a sandwich from using Paulina bologna on big thick bread with potato chips and honey mustard on it, and it's really good. It's just indulgent in all the best ways. So that's kind of their thing. So from Blackbird he goes to doing that, which is nice. And I think that's the kind of thing we're seeing all over. I mean, it's been very much a year of comfort food. So pizza did well. People have been doing a lot of short ribs and things like that. If you wanted meatloaf this year, this was a good year to get it from fairly swanky upscale places.
Well, along the lines of innovation, one of the places that made your list is Flower Power, which I wasn't totally sure from the description. Is this basically like a take it and bake it at home?
Yeah, but he does dinners each night, so there's a limited number of like prepared dinners with using the house-made pasta that they have. Yeah, that's a good one. Wilson Bauer was he worked at Elizabeth back in the day, and I don't know, some other, he was the head chef of Schwa for a while, and so he's been at kind of the fancy places, but he got married and they had a kid, and he wanted to do something that didn't involve him, being up, getting drunk with the customers at midnight. So, unlike Schwa. So he opened up, this pasta place with a little machine there cranking out different shapes of pasta, and sitting there going chug, 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 as you go in the place. But it's really nice stuff. I mean, I've gotten pasta and the sauce to go with it from there a couple of times. And it's interesting. I talked to him the first time I got it. I said it was kind of low on salt. I felt that, the sauce was under salt. That he said, well, that's because everybody doesn't realize that you're supposed to salt your pasta water. Which I gave it a few shakes, I think, but I didn't give it the, that I was supposed to give it. So, if you do it properly, your pasta should have enough saltiness that it'll go with it'll enhance the saltiness of the sauce. So
the Fooditor 33 covers new openings in 2020. What a year to open. I mean, you put your life savings, your heart and soul into opening a restaurant. Yeah,
that's really rough for the people who open a restaurant based on the pre-COVID model, like Ever, which is the only really fancy restaurant to open up this year. And they're making hamburgers right now. You can get a fancy burger from Ever and fries for like $20 or something. Apparently they're doing really well, selling a lot of burgers out of that place. But yeah, doing the sit down dinner with lots of servers and stuff like that. Someone pouring wine right in front of you. That's tough this year. And so
you say something early on in the Fooditor 33, and I think this is an important thing to just kind of linger on. The main thing is, in a year when we're all stuck indoors and not able to travel, Chicago's restaurants remain the easiest, cheapest way to experience our world and its cultures and pleasures in a safe way. And by doing so, you're supporting the people and their businesses who have responded to this crisis so creatively and generously. I mean, I don't think that can be said enough. I mean, I would love to go back to Mexico. I went to Mexico City last year. I'd love to do that, but you can't do that right now. But
what did I love in Mexico? It was that you could just walk down a street and there were like carts with different tacos available on them. Well, guess what? We live in a city where you can do that too. So, it's a great thing to take advantage of what we have here and go out and, try different kinds of foods. I mean, the other thing that we got besides the Detroit style pizza that was all over the place is the quesadilla, which you take birria meat. Apparently this came from like Tijuana area. And it's like spreading across the country now. You take birria meat, so that's like roasted goat or beef, and you put it on a tortilla with some cheese, and then you have, so you got this gooey, cheesy thing, and then you get some broth that goes with the birria, and you can just dip it and eat it. It's one of like
sounds amazing.
Yeah,
I want that right now.
It's one of those things. It's like Italian beef. You once you start dipping it, you've got a time limit. You better eat that thing quickly.
You mentioned Italian beef. Best place in the Chicago area for Italian beef?
Johnny's out in Elmwood Park. Everybody, yeah.
Is it even close?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, there are people who are fans of like Al's and stuff like that, but I mean, I like Al's fine, but to me, the total experience, including the, you better know what you want when you get to the front of the line, because you want your beef or your combo, with hot peppers dipped or with giardiniera, whatever you like. You have that in your head so you can just spit it out at them, because they don't have any time to waste on you making up your mind there. It's not Burger King where you're going to have it your way.
One of my favorite smells on earth is Johnny's, the smell of that sausage.
Yeah.
When you walk in. Oh, my God. And it's worth mentioning their Italian ice. Delicious.
Yeah, yeah. And that's actually the sauce. That's one of the reasons that Johnny's is such a standout, and Al's is too. It's because they're grilling the sausage over charcoal there in the place, which is relatively rare. I mean, there's places that'll do it on a gas grill, which is fine, but the charcoal grill is nice. We lost a great place at a charcoal grill this year, Duke's, down on where was it? It was like 79th South Harlem, something like that. It's like a parking lot now for a bank or something. So R.I.P. Dukes.
R.I.P. Well, let's talk more about the places that sprouted up. There's a picture you took to go along with the listing for Hermosa at 4356 West Armitage. Was that the Cambodian fried chicken sandwich?
Yes, which is one of the most glorious things in Chicago right now. And, it's an interesting story about how our high end and our low end go together. So Ethan, who runs the place, his parents own the building. His sister actually has the Filipino restaurant in front. But they're like Cambodian Chinese. And the parents have a Chinese restaurant, and another sister, she and her husband have a donut place on Fullerton, because the Cambodians are big in donuts, apparently. This is a thing. Who knew? But, I think in these communities, sometimes if something works, it spreads quickly within them. So Ethan, he was a host at Next a few years ago. Fancy, Alinea Group owned Next downtown. And then his parents, built this building, where they had owned a restaurant before. And so he just started it as like a hot dog stand for that area, because there wasn't one in the neighborhood. So here's, a mostly Mexican neighborhood, the Cambodian guy running a hot dog stand. And then he starts wanting to explore his Cambodian, heritage in the flavors there. So he's doing like, this Cambodian chicken sandwich. It's just a fried chicken sandwich that's spiced in particular ways, and it's really glorious.
So good. It looks so good. It's one of the first pictures you see in the Fooditor 33 this year. And it looks amazing.
So he was doing that, and then he started doing other Cambodian dishes. You can go get a whole Cambodian dinner there. And that's again the example of the kind of innovation that's going on. People are trying these things that they've always wanted to do. If you're already screwed this year, why not try it? So how much worse off can you be? So
One of the things that has been openly wondered, discussed is what have we done as a culture in 2020 that will survive once things get more normal-ish? What things are we going to take from the pandemic era into the future? I feel like a lot of things like curbside service will be expected as we head into whatever this next era is.
Yes. A lot of businesses have been very good at making that work really efficiently, in bad Chicago traffic, and not letting people get tickets for pulling over to wait for their food to come out. That's one thing. I think the way that we're all doing this kind of cashlessly. Now, there's a word that I was not meant to pronounce today. But that whole thing of, you pay ahead of time and you walk up and just, take your bag is right there. I think we're going to see more of that you order ahead of time. I mean, that's the thing that I've seen so much of this year is like some of these things, they have limited capacity. So if you want this particular pizza, if you want it on Friday night, you should be thinking about it on Tuesday and put your order in. There are a lot of things like that I had this year that you kind of had to jump on it. And that was part of the reason that I wanted to do this list was I thought some people were kind of intimidated by some of this, or they thought, well, I can't get these things because every time I go on the site, it's booked up or whatever. So, it was good to kind of tell them, well, here's what you need to do and assure them that, yes, you can get this food. Excuse me.
I feel so guilty having you on tonight. Another new listing in the Fooditor 33 this year is a place that seems like a bad name for a Google search if you're a business owner. Pizza, fried chicken, ice cream.
Yeah, that's it's attached to the whole like Maria's Bar Mars Brewing complex down there that includes Kimski. We had Juan Kim on.
We did a
so he's the fried chicken part of the equation, and the pizza. Some guy who was just like making pizzas for people, who would like contact him over Instagram or whatever and reserve a pizza, that kind of thing. They started by doing the Detroit style pizza earlier this year, and then by the time I got to try the pizza, they had switched over to tavern cut thin, Chicago style thin, which was glorious. I mean, it was really nice to see someone taking something like that you've had so many times at various levels of okayness, and really, putting some thought into it. Like, you've heard people say, you want to order the pizza well done. I mean, these all come well done to begin with. So the crust is like brown and it kind of crumbles like gingerbread when you bite into it. And the cheese is cooked enough just right, and really good sausage on it. I'm not sure where they got the sausage, but it's just someone like thinking through all of these things and trying to do it really well that you don't necessarily see in some of these kind of commodity foods a lot of times.
So and explain again, Detroit style pizza means
Detroit style pizza it's kind of like a pan pizza. It's got a kind of tall, fluffy crust, and there's some particular things that you do in Detroit style pizza, like you use brick cheese, which is like a kind of more buttery cheddar kind of cheese, and a lot of times what they'll do is just sort of like put chunks of it along the edge of the pizza, and it kind of burns, it caramelizes along the edge in the pan, kind of like Pequods or Berts, the way they have the caramelized edge. And they'll just like, some places even put the sauce on cold. I think that's weird.
That's weird.
That's too much of just too jarring to me. But you just sort of like make rivulets of sauce all along the edge of where the cheese is doing its thing. So it's a distinct, weird kind of style, and it's taken off in a big way here this year. It's nice because you get, you get like these square slices, like the pizza friendly pizza one. It's like nine squares. It looks like Hollywood squares in there. So there's like 9 of them there, and they're just it's very efficient pizza to order and eat that way, I think.
All right, let's keep going down the list. What's the brewery in Humboldt?
Yeah, it's called Orkanoi.
I didn't want to pronounce it. I was scared.
Yeah, because it's got weird characters in it. It's interesting. Humboldt Park a million years ago was Norwegian. It hasn't been that for a long time. But so they went for kind of a Norwegian theme with, there's like use of dill and it could be like, smoked salmon and capers on a flatbread kind of thing. And so, but then they also, it's kind of like hipster modern Norwegian. So you get, one of them had like kimchi on it, as well as these supposedly Norwegian things. I don't know if you find anything like that in Norway or not, but I think it's kind of relating to some of the really upscale Norwegian restaurants like Faviken that have been popular in recent years. So, so again, you're in Chicago. The great thing is you can go get for $11, you can go get lunch that is inspired by some place that'd be $500 to go to in Norway. So
I love how you know all this background and the origins of the cuisines and the neighborhoods. Did the Norwegian community, would you even know, did the Norwegian community that was in Humboldt migrate to North Center and Andersonville, or was that community already there? Or do you even know?
I think Andersonville was around the same time, and it's kind of hung on a little longer than the Norwegian one did. I think what happens a lot is if there aren't people continuously coming from those countries, is like after World War II, we got a lot of Germans continuing to come into Chicago, but pretty soon Germany was very economically healthy, so that people didn't need to migrate here to find opportunity. And once they stop emigrating to this area, the writing's on the wall for a neighborhood. It's not gonna last being that kind of thing for very long without like fresh people moving in. And eventually, it's like this used to be the biggest Lithuanian city in the world, bigger than any, more Lithuanians than any place in Lithuania. And eventually they're just Chicagoans that live somewhere in the suburbs, and that's what happens. One time there's a pizza place on the south side called Pizza Castle, and I went there one time. I was asking the guy about it, and Pizza Castle is apparently the last survivor of a Danish neighborhood on the south side. Who knew that there was such a thing? But the guy's name is Jensen, and so a Danish guy making pizza is the last vestige of Danish Chicago, apparently.
I can't resist a good portmanteau. There's a place in Bucktown called Fodega.
Yes, that's a good place. They're doing, like pho and some other dishes like Hainanese chicken and rice, which is a popular, very simple comfort food. Pretty much all it is what it says, chicken and rice. And so they opened this place because there wasn't really pho down in that area, and they made it kind of like a bodega. It's got there are things to buy there and stuff as well. I forget what they're selling there. Not phone cards and cigarettes like you would normally find, but yeah, it's a fun little place, and that was one that opened before all this went bad. And that's kind of a tough one for me. It's like I haven't had pho since all this started because it's not a very portable dish.
I was about to say, I think I like pho, but I've never not spilled or made a mess of myself eating pho.
Right. So imagine taking it home. It's like there's a ramen place out in the burbs somewhere, like out toward Park Ridge or somewhere, that people are really big on. And I went there once, but I think it lost a lot of its magic riding home from Park Ridge in my car and then me trying to reassemble it at home.
Yeah.
So that's one that I'm waiting for when they can reopen and I can just sit at the counter and have ramen the way you're supposed to. But yeah, so if it's too far away, that's kind of tough. That's definitely one of the things we're seeing this year.
We mentioned North Center briefly. There's a soul food place that sounded awesome. In fact, the picture you included in the Fooditor 33 looked amazing. Lizzie J Cafe.
Yeah, she apparently was a caterer for the African American community, and then she opened this little breakfast place right next to a ramen place, by the way, that's on the list, Menyagoku. They're neighbors. But yeah, no, that I went there for breakfast with my son before we weren't allowed to dine in anymore, and yeah, it was really nice. It's and a lot, a lot of. She seemed very outgoing, a lot of personality, and that's I like that in a breakfast place too.
That's what you want from a soul food place,
right? A soul food place. You want it to feel like
hey, come over for our family meal.
Right. Well, that happened recently. I went to one of my favorite places. It's been in the book for many years on the South Side, called Five Loaves Eatery. I've gotten to know Connie, who runs it, pretty well. And so my sister was visiting, so she wanted to see stuff on the South Side. So we drove around there, and then for lunch, we went to Five Loaves, and there was a whole family there that I think had just come from a wedding or something like that. So, they all get up and they're like linking hands, and they're all, and then the grandpa is saying something about family, and so we're Connie waves to us to get up, so we get up and like hold hands and wish these people well, and it's like, how much better does it get than that?
Yeah,
it's the warmth of restaurants. I mean, that's the point of going to them, or one of the points anyway.
I agree. All right. So the Fooditor 33, this is a download. You can read it right on the website on fooditor.com. One thing I will urge
print it out.
Perfect. One thing I will urge people to do who are interested in food, in Chicago dining, and restaurants, subscribe to the Buzz List. That's your weekly newsletter you push out, which is a dense amount of writing. I mean, you really, it's like you publish a separate website every week worth of content. And I love it. I mean, I feel very plugged in reading Buzz List every week.
Yeah, a lot of it synthesizes what's out in food media right now, but it also gives me an excuse to comment on it myself. So, yeah, that's what it has.
I love the line, "Locked down so long it looks like up to me."
Yeah, I try to find good punny headlines for the items in it.
I'm a sucker for a good pun. Mike Gebert, Fooditor.com is where we go to find your writing, really indispensable stuff. I'm a fan of your writing, and you're one of my favorite guests on earth. You're so knowledgeable about our culture here in town, the city's food scene. I love talking to you. That said, I feel horribly guilty keeping you on while you have mono, and your tongue is like 4 sizes too big.
It's Detroit pizza size at the moment.
So what we'll wrap it up, and I'll leave it at this. Go to Fooditor.com, check this out. Keep your eyes open for what's happening on Fooditor. Subscribe to the newsletter, to BuzzList, to know what's coming next. And I think you join me, Mike, in wishing the best for this scene and the restaurateurs and the businesses, and making it through, and getting on the other side of this when they can be firing on all cylinders.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. It's like it certainly has affected me far less than it has most of them. So it just seems right that I should spend money, get food from them, support whatever they're doing to get through this, and encourage other people to do that too. Yeah. So that's why I did this.
Yeah,
this abbreviated version of the Fooditor 99.
Eat local. Support these people. Yeah. Mike, feel better, please. Lots of
Thank
fluids. You. Lots of rest. I hope you're well enough to enjoy the holidays. If not, I hope you heal quick. And I'm sorry you're ill.